Everyone's been to a synagogue. We all know the scene. There's sound, there's life, and suddenly everything goes quiet. Everyone's davening Shemona Esrei, the 18 blessings, the Amidah, the standing prayer. Where did this come from? The actual words were composed by the men of the Great Assembly, the group of scholars brought together under the aegis of Ezra when the Jews returned to rebuild the Second Temple. But where did the mentality of the sudden silence come from? It came from Chana. Who was Chana? Chana was a woman who lived in the era of Judges, who together with her husband Elkanah would do sort of what today we would call kiruv missions all over Israel. When they would visit the temple 3 times a year, instead of going directly from where they lived to Yerushalayim, they would go on a circuitous route. They had musicians, they had a whole entourage of people, and they would get people to wake up and move with them towards Yerushalayim. She had no children. Every year, when they would finally get to the Mishkan, to the tabernacle, she would weep. She wouldn't eat. And Elkanah would try to console her, and it didn't work. And her co-wife Penina would try to egg her on. Didn't work. She was in despair. Finally, one year, Elkanah, who loved her, could bear it no longer, and he said, Chana, am I not better to you than 10 children? And it sunk in. What sunk in? Elkanah had accepted their situation. It was at that moment she realized that she has to pray if she wants changes to take place. She went inside to the Mishkan. The officiating Kohen never saw anybody pray like she prayed, silently with just her lips moving. Thought she was drunk. Said, come back when you're sober. And she said, I'm not drunk. I'm praying for my heart. I'm praying for my bitterness. Why silently? Maharal tells us that words always externalize us because they relate to limitations and physicality. If I say this is a cup, which it is, it's nothing other than a cup. I've just limited its reality. Prayer should come from a place where you have at least some yearning and consciousness of God's infinity, so that the words are just tools of letting the silence within you reach outward. So the main thing in the prayers are not the words, certainly not hearing the words. The main thing is the expression of soul, the yearning, the feeling of absolute reliance on Hashem. We need the words. Let's not deceive ourselves. If we couldn't say, blessed are you, God, of Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, we wouldn't know who we're talking to. But we can't distract ourselves with hearing our own voices. There comes to a place where our own voice is not what we want to hear. And there has to be bowing, which is submission of all of one's strengths to God. And there has to be standing upright when you hear His name and letting your heart take you to a higher place. And there has to be sincerity. This is what Chana brought to the prayer service. And this is where we take all of the laws concerning the Shemona Esrei. Through her example, she was the mistress of prayer. What this tells us, since this is universal now for all of Israel, any Jew anywhere prays in the same style, is that every one of us are capable of reaching that place, the place of inner silence and relationship to Hashem. We have 3 opportunities a day to do it, and each one of them could be transformational.